Hello Internet, I started learning JavaScript after Python, and here's how I built my first web projects from scratch. Hey, I'm James, a beginner coder, and I started learning Python a few months ago. To learn more about that, check out the video I uploaded before this one. Right now, I've jumped into JavaScript and started way too big projects beyond my comprehension, and more about that later on. But honestly, it feels like the real thing dealing with JavaScript and web development, because that is literally what the amazing World Wide Web is mostly made of. In this video, I'll show you the projects I built while learning JavaScript, and spoiler alert, I am a real dumbass when it comes to learning. Okay, before we dive into the exciting part of actually building things, I have to come clean. I started with almost no grasp of syntax. Aside from printing hello world, I was completely in the dark. That's why I believe it's crucial to establish a strong foundation before tackling larger projects. If you don't, you might just forget the syntax and built-in functions you learned the day before. I was already familiar with designing pages using HTML and CSS, but I had no clue how to introduce functionality or interactivity. That's where JavaScript stepped in. Now, when it comes to resources, there are tons of courses available, but many are either entirely behind the paywall or just not complete. What resources really helped me were Code Wars, Cody.tech, and Accessism. Code Wars challenged me to think and code in an easy way. Cody.tech made the learning process enjoyable, and Accessism helped me really nail down the basics. I also just wanted to point out that you could get free mentoring on the page of Accessism by other users on the platform. Honestly, since a lot of JavaScript syntax is pretty similar to Python, I was able to start coding simple console applications fairly quickly. And that brings us to the fun part, actually building stuff. Well, not really yet, because since I did know basic JavaScript syntax, I did not know how JavaScript interacts with either HTML or CSS. Sure, I could write console.log hello world all day, but add any buttons that do stuff. Yeah, that was a similar but different story. Before I could dive into building real projects, I needed to get a solid grasp on the DOM, aka the document object model, which is essentially how JavaScript communicates with your web page and allows you to add cool features. Once I wrapped my head around that, things started to get really exciting. When I first dipped my toes into JavaScript, I have to admit, it was a bit overwhelming. The syntax itself wasn't too tricky since I had some background in Python, but what really threw me for a loop was figuring out how JavaScript interacts with HTML and CSS. I could whip up some simple console programs by turning websites into something interactive that felt like pure magic. What really helped me were, like I said before, a variety of resources. Not only the resources mentioned, but also things like documentations, little YouTube tutorials, and let's not forget, ChatGPT was my go-to whenever I hit a wall and couldn't figure out why my code was going haywire. God! Arrow functions, template literals, binary operator, constant. Do you mean I'm totally not going insane. Like, what the fuck are you even talking about? Alright, here we go. After all that studying and praying my brain doesn't just give up from sheer frustration, I finally have some projects to show off. Both of them really clicked for me with the DOM, but math felt like it was out to get me personally. So this project gave me a bit of false confidence at first. I decided to create a knockoff of the infamous snake game. Why? Somehow I thought it would be a piece of cake. Spoiler, it was anything but that. For instance, I spent about half an hour just trying to figure out why the input wasn't working. I eventually fixed it, only to waste another 15 minutes battling with the pause button. Anyway, the controls, just like Snake. You hit a button and the player keeps moving in that direction. Up, left, down, right, WASD. Then came the collision detection. I thought I was being clever, threw some if statements and math together, and then, well, let's just say this happened. Oh, and the player kept escaping the window borders like it was a mission. I texted my friend, who, by the way, doesn't even have a CS degree, and he fixed it in no time. Thanks, man. Finally, I added some UI, a score system, and boom, I present to you my creation, my curse, Snake! Oh god. That project really helped me understand the DOM. At first, functions like document.get element by ID and moving objects around felt super tricky, but now it's like puzzle pieces in my brain are finally clicking into place. Anyway, moving on to the next challenge. This time, I wanted to make things more interactive by incorporating mouse input. The plan? Click anywhere on the page and a ball appears right where your mouse is. I wanted it to have gravity, velocity, and bounce, but I decided to skip the ball-to-ball collisions because that would have been way too complicated. The best part, JavaScript allows you to create elements with IDs and classes, which meant I could actually slide the balls, add borders, and make them round instead of just sad little squares. Then came the whole gravity thing. Oh boy, I thought, let's give it a shot without peeking at my slate code. Bad move. I totally blanked on how the movement worked. I should have reviewed my own code first. This leads me to my first big tip. Don't just write code and forget about it. Seriously, take the time to reread your own work. It will save your future self a lot of headaches. Another thing I noticed, my code was getting messy really quickly. The fix is so simple it's almost painful. Comments. Just write them down already. Especially for the math parts. Future me will definitely appreciate not having to decipher hieroglyph. What? Future me will definitely appreciate not having to decipher enchantment table language. Alright, let's get back to those bouncy balls. I whipped up a whole page with a design I really liked, mainly to see if I could create a navigation bar from scratch. In case you're not familiar, a nav bar is that long strip you find on every website. Click Analytics and boom, you're on the Analytics page. Hit Home and you're back where you started. Now, let's dive into the exciting stuff, gravity and velocity. I was struggling to get the balls to move. So I reached out to my imaginary friend who, let's be honest, doesn't still have a computer science degree, but somehow it worked. That was just the first part. Next up was velocity. My initial thought was to have a variable? How do you pronounce variable? Variable. Oh my god. My initial thought was to have a variable multiply itself by a tiny decimal for every pixel moved. Spoiler alert, that didn't pan out. So I went back to my poor imaginary friend for help again, and after that, things started to look pretty awesome. To make it even more interesting, I added random colors and sizes for each new ball. Suddenly it felt like they were alive. I also included a reset button, and with that I can finally say I am done. Alright, this was really fun, you guys. I really enjoyed it throughout the process, and the bugs were kind of funny but also totally cursed. Let's recap this into a mini lesson right now. Always reread your code, comment it, especially the maths, and stop being afraid of making mistakes. Because how are you gonna improve if you don't have made any mistakes to begin with? If you've ever fought the DOM and lost, Drop your funniest bug in the comments so I don't feel alone out here. Also, you probably like seeing me suffer while learning to code. You know what to do. Hit that sub button right now. By the way, everything you saw is open source. GitHub link is in the description. So yeah, next video I might build something actually useful. We will see, maybe. Right, I'm gonna go comment my code before I forget what x times equals y even means. See ya.